about to listen to the Dr. Daliah Show. Sassy, stimulating medical talk radio. Any medical advice Dr. Daliah Wax gives on her show should not be substituted for an actual visit to your medical provider. And now, here's Dr. Daliah.
We are back on the Dr. Daliah Show. Thank you all for tuning in. 1-877-Dr. 1-877-DOC-DALI. So one of the other things the U.S. FDA wants to do, which Commissioner Dr. Martin Makary had spoken about in one of the press conferences, but the media didn't really cover it or go into it because they wanted to kind of make a big deal about the COVID vaccine and Tylenol and all the other things. But this is also very, very important. Is re-looking at the black box warning on menopause treatments. So a black box warning is the strongest type of alert that the FDA puts on a label to warn consumers about risks. And it's important because if a doctor, let's say, does not go into a lot of detail, there's a way for patients to educate themselves, and these black box warnings are pretty easily seen, and they are able to allow patients to educate themselves on the drug. In case patients think that there's bias or doctors aren't going to be forthcoming or whatever, the black box warning is from an objective body, telling people, look, these are the concerns that the drug may have. And so hormone replacement products, such as Premarin, after the Women's Health Initiative, where there were concerns about heart disease, stroke, blood clots, uterine and breast cancer, changed the way a lot of doctors prescribe these medications. And after the Women's Health Initiative, in fact, I think there was a female doctor, that tried to prove that the Women's Health Initiative was just too strict. And she actually died of a heart attack while she was studying heart disease risk and hormones. So and I had felt it was different strokes for different folks. I personally think some people really, really need hormone replacement therapy, to protect their bones, to help their heart. Yeah, it's interesting. In fact, in the 90s when I was in training, a doctor I worked with had said it was malpractice to not provide women hormone replacement therapy if they went through menopause, because they could have heart disease. They could have bone fractures. And so to always don't even let a woman go through menopause, start those hormones early. If not, it's malpractice. Then the Women's Health Initiative came and it completely wasn't about face. And I'm thinking to myself, I go, so my guess is it helps some women and it hurts others. So how do we figure out who it helps and who it hurts? Well, because of liability, it just went the way of black box warning. Just keep in mind that this can increase risk of uterine cancer, breast cancer, strokes, blood clots, etc. And so now what they said after the study, apparently, and the label change, prescriptions for this dropped. Many women stopped using them. Many doctors want to prescribe them. And we saw osteoporosis go up. We still saw heart disease. We still saw, and Dr. Makary is saying it's a real tragedy. It's maybe one of the greatest screw-ups in modern medicine. It resulted in 50 million women being denied this incredible therapy. And so they say in the late 90s, more than 1 in 4 postmenopausal women were taking hormones to manage symptoms of hot flashes, mood swings, night sweats, insomnia. By 2020, the number dropped to about 1 in 25. So now we have, more women struggling with osteoporosis. We still have high levels of heart disease. We have, people struggling with insomnia, mood disorders. And, was the, fear of using hormones for hormone therapy warranted? Well, again, I think it's different strokes for different folks. And so what they want to do is look at, it reduces bone loss, heart disease risk, memory loss. Women live longer and feel better. So, according to Dr. Makary, so they're looking at possibly removing the black box warning. And, Dr. Joanne Pinkerton, a professor of OB-GYN at University of Virginia School of Medicine, says, I'm begging the FDA, and all of us are begging, please remove the box label and please stop harming women. Now, some people could say, Daliah, why do doctors then, if doctors really feel like a patient needs it, Screw the FDA. Now, just give the patient what they need. Well, I had a patient who was having blood pressure issues, and her gynecologist had her on estrogen, and I'm having trouble controlling her blood pressure. She's on multiple medications, and she was a black woman, African American, and I said, look, how much in love are you with these hormones? She's like, Daliah, I really don't like them. I go, do you want to try a trial of no hormones and see what it does to your blood pressure? She says, yes, please. So I stopped her. I told her not to use what her doctor gave temporarily. Her blood pressure normalized. She was able to get off blood pressure medications. Well, 9 months later was her routine mammogram. So she does her mammogram. I order it for her because she wasn't seeing her gynecologist for some reason until the following month. And she ends up having stage 2 breast cancer. We caught it luckily early, and because her mammogram prior to that was normal. Although now we have better imaging where you can look back going, maybe it wasn't normal. Maybe there was something mild. But still, we caught it stage 2. She survived, did well. But her husband comes into the office saying, Doc, my lawyer wants the records because he wants to sue every doctor who gave her the estrogen. You know, if estrogen causes breast cancer, my wife had breast cancer, he said we could sue. I go, here's the records, but I never gave her. I was the one that actually took her off of them. So I was the only doctor in their list of doctors who they sued that didn't get sued. And so the thing with these black box warnings, et cetera, is if a lawyer is going to say, you know what, 1 in 8 women get breast cancer, let's look. If a doctor gave her estrogen and there's a black box warning, we can make a case. So a lot of doctors are like, well, to hell with this. And to be honest, I stopped writing it. Because if I didn't get sued because I was the one that, took her off the hormones and I never gave her the hormones. But I'm like, there's a lot of doctors that wouldn't be as lucky as me from a lawsuit perspective. And that's why many doctors said, to hell with this, I'm not even going to go there. And the OB-GYNs are gutsy. They're like, look, I'm going to help these women. Well, that's what we did. We deferred it to OB-GYN. We said, look, they could be more rigorous with your uterine cancer screening and ovarian cancer and breast and will handle the heart disease stuff. And so we came up with a plan, but it's not good enough. So I do think they need to relook at the black box warning. 1-877-DOC-DALIAH. Don't go away.
This is an urgent announcement for anyone that's $10,000 or more in debt. Before you make another minimum payment, you need to know there are special programs that can completely free you of your debt. Total Financial Freedom can help you become debt-free in months instead of years. Resolve your credit card debt, signature loans, department store cards, internet loans, and timeshares. Call Total Financial Freedom now at 800-878-6020 for a free consultation. For 16 years, Total Financial Freedom has helped thousands get out of debt. You can feel confident when calling because Total Financial Freedom is A+ rated by the Better Business Bureau. Battling for years and years stuck in the endless cycle of minimum payments could take decades. You have the right to get your debt resolved and substantially reduce your monthly payments. Call Total Financial Freedom now at 800-878-6020. That's 800-878-6020. 800-878-6020.
Let's face it, guys, we're living in times where the truth is becoming more suppressed and censorship is increasing at an alarming rate, especially on social media platforms. It's Clyde, and I want to tell you about a safe and secure digital playground we put together just for you. It's aftermath.media. You get access to thousands of Ground Zero archives and podcasts, along with our private social media groups with your basic membership starting at only $7 a month. Each subscription includes tech support, access to the RSS feeds, along with our own chat room and Telegram channel. In addition, the premium membership includes research study groups, webinars, a document and movie library, a live video stream of Ground Zero, a monthly Zoom chat with me, and other bonus content. Be sure to check out our yearly specials as well. Sign up today while you're thinking about it. Sign up at aftermath.media. Again, that's aftermath.media.
tuning in. 1-877-DOC-DOLLY, 1-877-DOC-DALI. Big thanks to Talk Media Network for making the show happen. Big thanks to Daniel, our producer, and big thanks to y'all for tuning in. We really do appreciate it. Don't forget to follow us on Twitter or X, the Dr. Daliah, Facebook, the Dr. Daliah Show, and on YouTube, click like and subscribe. So one thing my generation, as Gen X's do, and you baby boomers do, and even millennials, are saying, look, we need to get back to God. We have many young individuals who are struggling with mental illness. Maybe it's because they don't have faith. They don't have some spiritual guidance. And so, we've been seeing religion fall off, just fall in numbers. And maybe we get that back. And Charlie Kirk was a big advocate of, finding God. But one thing that I think a lot of people are realizing, because I talk to a lot of young people, is we're telling them to go back to religion. Right? Many of them are atheists, but and if that's what your spirituality is, all the power to you. I support whatever you want. But we're encouraging people to go and get religious again and find God. But which religion? Which one? Judaism? Catholicism? Non-denominational Christian? Baptism? Episcopalian? Protestant? Muslim, what? Hindu, Buddha, which one? And even those of us who might be solid and comfortable in our religion, I know I've struggled with this. Am I in the right one? I have family members who are Christian and Catholic and Jewish, and we have another family member that is now considering converting to Christianity in full support. It's beautiful. In fact, he might be considering Catholicism. And I'm in full support. I think I go to mass. I love all religions. I'm excited about whatever path they want for themselves. I'm in support. But how do you answer that question? Are you in the right religion? And if we are in the wrong one, what happens to us? Well, it depends on your religion. In some religions, you're going to be damned to hell. Well, that's pretty frightening. And what I talked to some young individuals, who are trying to find, one religion versus another, they're noticing that they feel like some religions are, might be better suited for them, but they're going to fail. They're not going to be able to follow the rules. And if they fail, they're going to be damned to hell. I went through different phases of how religious I was. And when I was going through college, I was like, okay, I'm going to follow the Sabbath better. I'm going to follow the rules of kashrut. And the more I read the Bible, the more I realized, okay, I'm not doing this. I'm not doing this right. I'm not doing this right. And the anxiety. And luckily for me, I didn't quit religion, but I was like, there's no way for me to do this right. I mean, for you to really follow your religion, whether it's Judaism or Catholicism or whatever, there's a lot of work. Now, personally, I think God deserves that work. I mean, he gave us life. But for me, trying to get through undergrad and trying to get through medical school and support myself and all that, I couldn't do it. So am I damned to hell? The Jews are told we're the chosen people. But then why is Catholicism and Catholics and Christians, so robust, so beautiful? So why are they so good? Why are they so blessed? So somebody's right. We're all right. I mean, and so when a young person says, well, what if I pick the wrong one? What if I'm supposed to be Catholic, but if I'm picking non-denominational Christian, or if I'm picking Protestant, Lutheran, what if I'm wrong? How do I know which religion is the right one? And I didn't realize how many younger individuals have that fear. Now, if you notice, many people who are, of faith, I don't know what religion Charlie Kirk was. I don't know if he was Catholic so I don't know exactly what, you guys might know. But I don't think he specifically specified, to people which one. And of course, everybody in their faith thinks they're the right one. But it's tricky because you're sitting there. I mean, I go to mass, I go to temple, I go to church, and I'm sitting there going, okay, how do I cover my bases? How do I hedge my bets? And so I think the answer is we all matter and we all are in God's graces. Because in the olden days, the Hittites, the Philistines, the Amalekites, the false worshipers, they were destroyed. They didn't last long. Yet, those of us who are Jewish, Catholic, Christian, Muslim, LDS, we're thriving. Which means God's happy with something we're doing. So then what could be the common denominator? Well, if we're following the Ten Commandments, if we're, being good to others, if we're trying to, protect our environment, protect others, not be selfish, if we're thanking God, or if we're not doing harm for those of us who are atheists, we must be doing something right. And so we're telling young people to find God, to find faith, but we're not necessarily helping them with, okay, what if I'm picking the wrong one? Or how do I know I'm picking the right one? And so, maybe there is no right one or wrong one. I have seen blessings and miracles happen to everybody, whether they're, when Christians ask me to pray with them, my patients, the power of prayer is huge. And I have seen God intervene no matter what their religion was, which means obviously he's not unhappy with their religion choice. But there's lots of them out there. There's lots of choices. And so my advice is, and you guys might disagree with it, and I would really love your opinion. 1-877-DOC-DALI, 1-877-DOC-DALI, is, look, find a way, if you don't want to be atheist and you want to be close to God, find the one that works for you. And I don't necessarily worship the same way, another Jew does. I love Christmas. I love Santa. I love, I think Catholics worship the exact same. No two Mormons, no two Jews. When you pray and you have a relationship with God, that's going to be different. The way you follow the laws, and nobody's identical in that. Identical. So you find what works for you. So for me, somebody might say, and I've been told by family members, well, what I'm doing is half-assed. Okay, I'm not really following Judaism by the book. It's half-assed. But it's working for me. I'm praying every night. I'm thanking God. I have tasks I want to do that help others. And maybe I'm making my own religion, but I feel good about it, and it's working for me. And so for young people, my recommendation is, learn and research and see what calls to you. All right. I think God loves all of us. He wouldn't have made us, and we wouldn't have all been experiencing miracles. And I really do think those people who die that see Jesus and see God, or see the light, I think that is real. I understand studies are looking at the neurological changes a dying brain goes through, but I got to tell you, some of these people, they're everybody's brain is kind of different, and what they're seeing, especially if it's tapping in on the religious and spiritual. It's not like everybody's seeing a pink elephant, or different things. They're seeing God. They're seeing. I believe in that. I really do. I don't think our life is over. A lot of doctors kind of, say, look, it's like when lights are out, lights are out. Like when you're in surgery. I disagree with that because I feel the souls of some of our lost family members. My father visits me in different ways. I really feel that stuff happens. I don't know if I believe in ghosts or anything, but I do believe there's a dimension that our souls are in. I don't know if that's Judaism or Christianity. I don't know what that is. But that's what I believe in. I just don't think it's old. And I told you what I believe. I believe the meaning of life is this is a job interview. So God's watching us, and he's deciding because he needs us and our souls up in heaven. So my uncle, who was a child who died of leukemia, He was amazing. He was a concert pianist. He was 2 grades ahead. He was a genius, good heart. And he died in the 1950s. Sorry, my nose is running. My guess is God's like, you know what? I saw enough. You're good. I know exactly where I need you. Somebody like me, he's like, oh, God, you're too loud. Stay on Earth a little while longer. I just got to figure out a soundproof booth for you. Hopefully, I still get to be on Earth a little longer. 1-877-DOC-DOLLY. Don't go away.
At Hot Shot Secret, we share the science behind common diesel problems and their solutions. For example,
diesel fuel cetane levels.
in many states, the cetane rating in diesel fuel is 42 to 45. Most diesel engines operate more efficiently with a cetane rating of 48 to 50. One treatment of Hot Shot Secret Diesel Extreme will raise your cetane 7 points, increase fuel economy, and improve cold starts. Due to a cleaner burn, there are less hydrocarbons and particulate matter in your exhaust. This reduces the blockage of your diesel particulate filter. Using Diesel Extreme generates 83% less DPF regeneration. The 6-in-1 Diesel Extreme formula also includes the most concentrated detergent on the market, lubricity enhancer, water demulsifier, rust and corrosion inhibitors, and a fuel stabilizer.
Hot Shot Secret Diesel Extreme is available nationwide at truck stops, fine farm and auto stores, and online at hotshotsecret.com. Hot Shot Secret, powered by science.
Back on the Dr. Daliah Show. Thank you all for tuning in. 1-877-DOC-DOLLY, 1-877-DOC-DALI. So a question I've been asked is, because of the rebound weight gain from these weight loss drugs, has there been a study on how many years until you change your brain's thinking so you don't get the rebound hunger? So the majority of patients, and it's not everybody, but people on these weight loss drugs, if they unfortunately can't stay on them because they're too expensive, or the pharmacy runs out, or their insurance doesn't cover it anymore, or they have side effects, unfortunately what I'm seeing are the patients who are rebounding. The studies are showing amazing results in terms of heart health and lowering cancer risk and brain health being on the medications. But what happens when somebody sadly is going to rebound? And I think there's some serious then heart risk, cancer risk, etc., which means if this isn't a medicine you could be on long term, not only because of price, but because of access and or side effects, etc., then what is it? Is it safe? So we have had patients on Ozempic now for years. Ozempic and Mounjaro are medications that were designed for those with diabetes. So we do have data sets. However, the dosing is a little different because many people are microdosing for weight loss, or they're going up to the higher levels, whereas for diabetes, they use the bare minimum level that's necessary to, ensure sugar control. Plus, it's for people who actually need the drug for blood sugar. So it's still a different population set. Somebody who's 130 pounds that wants to be 110. We're still slowly gathering that data set. And so if the medications are controlling hunger through hormones and GLP-1 agonists, and then you stop the medicine and people are getting severe hunger rebound, is there a way to retrain the brain? There actually is. And many people who have had gastric bypass surgery and bariatric surgery, they undergo therapy to help look at food differently and get into the habit of eating less. But that it doesn't work for everybody, because I see a lot of individuals start gaining their weight back from bariatric surgery. So, you have to really Yeah, I mean, and it's tough because I love sugar. And as much as I'm trying to teach myself that sugar is toxic and sugar is poison, I mean, I could maybe go 20 minutes and then I change my thinking again. I'm like, oh, no, you know what? I'll eat the piece of chocolate cake. So it'll think it's like an addiction. It is an addiction. I mean, if you're addicted to food or if you're addicted to certain types of food, you have to go through very similar therapy and rehabilitation so you don't go back to it, fall off the wagon. Now, bariatric surgery, Carney Wilson from Wilson Phillips, hold on for one more day. That was not right. Recently shared her very scary experience on social media. She had a gastric band, I think a while back, and she had to have this gastric lap band removed. She had bypass surgery before having a lap band placed in 2012. It's the little silicone device placed around the stomach to reversibly. The lap band came out because the Roux-en-Y procedure and the gastric bypass surgery, gastric bypass and bariatric surgery is designed to make your stomach smaller. And if they can make your stomach smaller, then you seem to get more, you seem to have less hunger. So when your stomach feels full, which is why we tell you to drink water before you eat, because if we could fill up your stomach, you're going to be less hungry. And so the Roux-en-Y procedure and a lot of gastric, bypass surgery was pretty involved. So they came out 15, 20 years ago with the lap band. And the lap band is a way to reversibly narrow your stomach. If it needs to be adjusted, the doctors could go in and adjust it. If it needs to be removed, they could go in and remove it. But sadly, a friend of mine and a lot of individuals who went that route struggled. And they had to go and get their lap bands removed. Either it shifted or the body rejected it. And you see, what's interesting about that is there were studies. Because I even asked, I go, you're going to have a foreign I talked to people who were doing lap band. I go, this is a foreign body. This is something foreign. And they go, oh, the studies are showing that the body doesn't reject it. The body doesn't reject it. And well, we did see, might not have looked exactly like organ rejections, but we did see people's bodies rejected. So according to Carney Wilson, she had to be readmitted to the hospital and have it removed because she had high blood pressure and swelling. They found an ulcer in there. She said, it didn't surprise me with all the stress I've had this year. They actually found an obstruction with food inside the lap band. She says, that makes me want to barf, quote unquote. So, when you look at now what they've done to replace the lap band in terms of weight loss surgery is they've done something called the gastric sleeve. And the gastric sleeve has had some of the fewest side effects. And the stomach kind of hangs like a pouch, kind of like a water. God, in the olden days, what they used to drink water from, one of those And so you have the esophagus, you have the small intestine, right, connecting up at the top, but then you kind of have the baggy purse to it. So the sleeve gastrectomy removes part of that bagginess, so it doesn't touch any of the piping. So there's fewer side effects, and they were able to surgically make that stomach smaller. It's been a very effective form of weight loss with very few side effects because you're not leaving a band in there and you're not messing around with the plumbing. And we've seen some great results. But the thing is it's still surgery. It's still not without its complications. And now that we have Wegovy, Zepbound, which are the Ozempic and Mounjaro counterparts, many people are questioning, do I even need bariatric surgery? Well, my question would be, one, talk to your doctor, right? First say that. But number two is, what type of weight loss are we looking at? If you're 400 pounds and you have high blood pressure, diabetes, a lot of comorbid conditions, we got to get that weight off. Now, I don't like the weight coming off too quickly because one thing I'm concerned about is some individuals who are having the gastric bypass surgery and lost a lot of weight quickly, I diagnosed cancer in. Now, it could have just been completely coincidental, but I also wonder if the stress of losing the weight that much caused some changes. We do know that rapid weight loss could cause gallstones and other issues. But if somebody is weighing that much and is at risk of heart attack, stroke, cancer, you can't get the weight off of them soon enough. So it's one of the does the benefit outweigh the risks? And again, we don't have studies saying that rapid weight loss leads to cancer, but I did have some very interesting, unique cancers in patients that I was like, well, that's kind of odd, and a common denominator they had that Roux-en-Y gastric bypass surgery and lost the weight very rapidly, unless they lost the weight rapidly because they had underlying cancer, so that's something to look at. So now, we got these shots, these GLP-1 agonists, and you have companies and pharmaceutical companies trying to come up with oral forms. By the way, we do have oral forms of these, but they don't necessarily they haven't necessarily been as effective and as exciting as the shots. Again, I'm kind of blown away how I had so many patients say, no, I will not do blood work. I will not get a vaccine. I can't have a shot. I'm afraid of needles. Yet now everybody's sticking and poking themselves. But if these medications only work temporarily, you're having some doctors say the combination for those people who are morbidly obese, the combination of surgery and the GLP-1s might be the sweet spot. Talk to your medical provider about your options. 1-877-DOC-DOLLY.
Carl Amari here to tell you about our newest website for old-time radio lovers. It's 100radioshows.com. At this site, there are 5 old-time radio shows waiting for you to download free as our gift to you, and be sure to browse the additional 700 old-time radio shows available to you for 70% off by using the promo code RADIO at checkout. This is a limited-time offer, so log on to 100radioshows.com. That's 100radioshows.com.
Have you ever thought you'd like to buy and sell houses but didn't know how or where to get the money? My name is Ron LeGrand, and over the past 40 years, I've bought over 3,000 houses without using my money or credit, and taught thousands to do the same. Today, even in a virtual environment, we buy nice houses in nice neighborhoods using no banks, realtors, contractors, or other costly entanglements, and build huge cash flow and wealth without the hassle of tenants, all without credit and little or no money. You don't need a license or experience, and I'll show you exactly how it's done. Text FREE to 99799, and I'll send you my free training. I promise you I'll change the way you think about real estate and open the door to a new lifestyle that doesn't involve risk or rehabs and can quickly replace your current income. Text FREE to 99799, and let me show you how to take your life back and build cash flow and wealth from your home. That's FREE to 99799. Again, FREE to 99799.
As an organ donor, your story doesn't have to end. The good in you can live on. In fact, you could save up to 8 lives and restore sight and health for many more. Sign up right now online as an organ, eye, and tissue donor. You'll be happy you did. And just maybe, someone else will be happy too. Go to organdonor.gov. It saves lives. U.S. Department of Health and Human Services, Health Resources and Services Administration.
Back on the Dr. Daliah Show. Thank you all for tuning in. 1-877-DOC-DOLLY, 1-877-DOC-DALI. So I believe that the Senate is about to vote again if the Democrats are going to continue the shutdown or not. They've coined it the Schumer shutdown, which I actually agree with. Now, I've looked at the bill, just a continuing resolution, 24 pages. No extra stuff. Doesn't have anything to do with the big, beautiful bill because that was already passed. This is just keeping the government funded. But Democrats are using this as an opportunity because they don't have a lot of opportunities now legislatively to try to get some airtime and make a stand for themselves, which is why I think the shutdown is going to loom longer. And so progressive Democrats are telling the other Democrats who might be at risk with their constituents for doing what their constituents want, which is their job. They're supposed to be doing what their constituents want. But I'm hearing that the far left are telling them to hold the line. And so this vote that's supposed to happen soon, I'm not being overly optimistic about. I do want the government to run efficiently. It's not a good look for anybody. But, Democratic strategists find this as a way to maybe get a little bit more talking points and CV builders if they could say, look, Trump was in charge and we had the longest lockdown or shutdown in history. And so they want to try to change history but if liberal media doesn't appropriately call it for what it is, going, look, this is that they're adding, this is not what the continuing resolution process is supposed to be about. They're taking advantage. All the Wikipedia and these other, the sites are going to say is, oh yeah, the Trump administration had one of the longest shutdowns. So I'm not expecting much movement today. In the meantime, though, President Donald Trump's administration, we're being told, according to Reuters, froze $2.1 billion in Chicago transit funding. And Budget Director Russ Bupp said the money earmarked for elevated train lines had been put on hold to ensure it was not flowing via race-based contracting. Now, this is Reuters reporting that. And the administration has frozen at least $28 billion in funding for Democratic cities and states. They say escalating Trump's campaign to use the, quote, extraordinary power of the U.S. government to punish political rivals. So you see what the media is doing. You see how the media is portraying it. What, Trump, I think, maybe made the wrong move of saying, well, we're going to fire federal workers then. We're going to, I would have used different wording. How Speaker Johnson had described it is, look, if the government is shut down, then the Office of Budget Management or whatever, the executive branch has to then decide what is essential and what's not to keep whatever money that is coming in flowing to the places that need it. So there has to be a triage. So I would have not necessarily specified, I would not have given any fuel to the fire or let the Democrats go, you see, he's threatening us. He's going to use this to threaten us. Because what Trump said is, well, okay, I could fire, I could now, fire, workers in agencies that are woke or are not, that were, Democratic established. And I just wouldn't have gone that far. I wouldn't have said that. What I would have done is said, look, okay, this is what's necessary. And these are, some of these projects, as much as I think they're necessary too, they're going to have to be on hold because we just don't have the funds. But now the media is able to run with this, saying that he's, using this to go after Democratic, strongholds and cities, etc. Meanwhile, federal workers, and I have a family member that works for the government. He loves working for the government and wants to keep his job. And I think he is in a very, well needed, part of the government. But, if Trump says, look, we have a lot of waste, fraud, abuse. This is the time to, if life gives you lemons, make lemonade. This is the best way to, save money. If we're shut down, I could really see, what didn't really need the workers or, didn't need the funding. There can be layoffs. And I hate to say this, but if we notice a department closed and not much has changed, and we're spending billions on that department, he's not entirely wrong about reevaluating what exactly we're spending money on. And so the shutdown does allow a rare opportunity. However, I don't think he wants to have the shutdown, a part of his presidency. You could tell he's bothered by it because he's going on the offense. So this isn't good for Republicans and it's not good for Democrats. So what are Democrats wanting? Well, they want to bring back to their constituents at the midterms, look at what we did. Okay, we fought, we held strong, we fought the Republicans. Fighting the Republicans should not be a way to get elected. And that's sadly what politics are doing. I mean, I find it more admirable and sexy when a politician says, I work with both sides and we got stuff done. That to me is sexy. But somehow politics has turned to Well, we fought. There was divide. We stuck to the divide. Really? Why can't you just use common sense? John Fetterman's popularity is soaring because he's calling it like it is and he's using some common sense. If it's stupid to shut down the government and there are ulterior motives, I mean, those things could be addressed separately. If you want to reevaluate the big, beautiful bill or you want to change, Obamacare is an absolute mess. Somebody needs to fix Obamacare. It's just not sustainable. But, I mean, that could be always addressed. That's the beauty of Congress. You could bring up bills, you can, but to use this as we got them by the cojones, no. And so what I would recommend Trump and the GOP do is, again, be very transparent about what the bill shows that there's nothing extra. We're just trying to, we want to help, people get their Social Security checks. We want to make sure our military is still getting their funding. We want to make sure we have TSA workers. But don't start saying, what we're going to do is we're going to start firing people. I mean, if you want to still work on waste, fraud, and abuse, you got voted to do that. You could still fight, waste, fraud, and abuse. But don't make it look like, don't threaten Democrats saying, well, see, we're doing this. Because that's the thing. Voters aren't going to look at that. If Trump is firing people, nobody's going to really go, oh, that was the Democrats' fault. See, they're going to be like, Trump fired them. So that's why, from a strategy standpoint, I just don't think that's very, very effective. Now, personally, I think, big government, it's too much. I think we have overhired. I think it was a brilliant move to have workers come back to the office, especially since we're paying for their rent. And if we aren't really getting the productivity that was promised with at-home work, why are taxpayers paying for this? Why are taxpayers going to work, paying taxes for people to not go to work? And these federal government jobs and salaries are really, really cush. So what I would do if I was Trump is, while the government is shut down, definitely use this as an opportunity to see what exactly is not functioning and what is, what will function just fine. And then think about making cuts. And you have the science experiment. You could say, look, when we were shut down, the 2,000 workers that were furloughed, we brought back 500 of them, and the work got done without overburdening them with, And I've worked for the government. You would think you have 8 hours worth of work to do. You don't always have it. A lot of it is reading, and you're buying time, and you're, and I'm not saying everybody has to work all 8 hours, to the fingers to the bone. But if we are wasting money and taxpayer money, come on. And there is the idea that Trump has floated where we get $2,000 back from the tariffs, the money he's collecting. I think that would be brilliant because taxpayers are like, look, if you're saving us money, how do we feel that? 1-877-Daliah, don't go away.
Can you believe, with all the recent violent protests, looting, and destruction, some areas are considering either defunding or abolishing the police? At a time when America's neighborhoods need the protection of police the most, some elected officials would rather create more chaos by playing politics. If you're sick of elected officials caving in to demands of the radical left, you're not alone. It's time we stand up and declare our support for local police. The majority of police officers are important partners in protecting our God-given rights. If you prefer freedom over chaos, then learn how you can help protect the local police that serve your community. Call today and request your free Support Your Local Police info packet. Dial 800-JBS-USA1. That's 800-JBS-USA1. Request your free Support Your Local Police info packet by calling 800-JBS-USA1 today.